Yes, hi, I need a mouse. Can you bring a mouse? An extra mouse, we're in 317. Thanks. And then, what homework do we have, Noah? Okay, what were you supposed to do for Ninja Trader? Uh-huh. And did you do the code too?
Nikki Randall.
Yeah, comment, and did you make comments to it, and did you upload it, or no? Okay, all right, so we'll do that, so just put Ninja Trader, don't worry about the quiz, because the quiz is already marked. So put, okay, no, don't put homework, put Ninja Trader. Okay, because that was our thing, right? Do we have another thing to do?
Dr. Usher?
Yeah.
What are you gonna like the paper I can use for my name tag? I'm on
Let's put this on, front desk.
Get it? And then probably borrow the expo marker real fast. This is where my name on it. And
Try
I
it. Okay, see if it works. So you see if it works, okay? If it's strong enough, if not, take the mark, black mark.
I know, it's the best.
You showing name in the Ninja Trader?
What?
Name in the Ninja Trader?
Put first name, last name, put phone, and then put, nin. And then we can see if it's Is this, did you start broadcasting already? So today is Monday, February 18, 2019. I think this is, remind me too. So let's get our name tags out. So today is Monday, February 18th. What we'll cover today is security. Thank you so much. What? Oh, nice. Okay. Take it up. Okay, now, we'll get rid of what
So it's still not working last time?
Has anybody come to check it?
Yeah.
So are you by yourself?
I'm not. I'm still
Okay, who's there? Okay. We're not surprised. Huh? What? No, check. You know, it's an ID.
It was impossible. did last night.
When Daniel comes.
Yeah.
It was home.
Okay, and at least, let's see if you learn.
I'm trying to study that. No, I don't want to be a kid. I want to study.
Say, you'd like to help them. Check it out, then we don't have to be class, right?
I just didn't.
We want to show you.
I really just like to do it.
Yeah, but like, we would have to go to a lab to do that, right? We can't do it on
I ain't bothered because she's not even checking. I didn't know that's fine. I don't think anyone else did either.
Oh my god.
Is that when you switch?
And she was holding up. I don't know how. Oh god. Really?
Okay, cover security, threats, controls, fishing. What else? We'll do contingency planning. ATS. What else are we doing? Moving average. Indicator. Versus strap. And we'll talk about the lab. We'll talk about the exam. And we'll do a Q&A, any questions the people have. How's that sound? Okay? So, let me get this up and running and let's see. Always issues? Matt and Alex, can I have you mind sitting up here, the first row? And then that way you can check, and then you can even check to see if we're broadcasting on A-Rush's platform. We'll switch it around a little bit. You know how we're so used to our spaces? You know, when you sit in a classroom? But that way, I appreciate it. This way you get, help me with this.
Yeah, BTA Central.
Thank you. And then, live, what do we get here? What do we see? Okay, so we need this board. I don't need this area. So have it from here to at least here. Okay, so when people are looking at it, right, they can see what's happening on the board.
It's at 317. Oh, she was just trying to tell us not to go to the lab today.
You know,
Yeah. It's like locked out. It's not? I like literally don't even know what I'm talking about.
I wish I saved my.
mean, I'm not looking at anything like
You have to do this shit, but I can't do it on my
I'm writing homework for the class.
No. Wasn't it just confused?
Yeah, it is. I think my dog. I just threw it. You were just doing it before.
No, you saw me doing it.
Yeah, and
That doesn't mean I'm terrible. The homework, but that's not like.
Oh, am I just caught some of the questions that are
I didn't type the answer,
and they should be forward.
I don't know the things.
Same, that could be different numbers.
Even like the thing where it's like, no, like you shouldn't because it's this.
Yeah, yeah, it's called
Literally.
literal.
And she was kind of like literally.
Why would- why
I
would
was like,
someone-
know how to do one. I was just like, oh, it literally says it. And the homework problems I don't even have to problem.
Like I didn't actually.
Yeah, well, in my laptop, my computer in the classroom.
There's not more on the test than there was. Literally, it's just the bus stop. It stops.
Okay, folks, we have issues. What else is new about our issues, huh? So we have to roll. So let's get our name tags. If you don't have name tags, make your new name tags. We can get out here. Any questions before we start? Name tags out, everybody. Yeah, yeah, right up here in the corner. If you don't have it, get it out. Paper here if you need it. Where's the marker? Pass the marker when somebody needs it, okay? Okay, so a couple of questions. My people in the back there, everybody have name tags out? Yes, no? Graham, let's go. All right. We always have issues, but we'll talk about some of the issues before we begin. Any questions before I begin? Always in the beginning of the class, I'll have you ask me questions. The next part is I will have you, at the end, I'll end a bit early and then you can ask me if you want to ask personal questions. Okay? The marker is here. We can help here. Stone, you want to make a larger, make your marker here, and how are we doing here? So what do we see on this end? Okay, good. The nice, okay. Now Stone, I don't need all the way that back wall there, right? I guess, do I need that back wall there? I think we're okay. Okay. Any other questions? Questions about Ninja Trader. It's available in the lab. Who had problems using it in the lab? You had problems? What was the problem, Brandon?
I don't remember. It was a week ago.
What?
It was a week ago. I don't remember.
You don't remember what your problem was? So what you need, what?
I was confused with the software. I don't know.
Okay, so what advice do you have for Brandon to do if he's confused? No, what advice? Because it's a week ago, right? And he has a legitimate thing. A week ago, how am I supposed to know what it is? So what idea? No, not only go back and look at it, but when you're having issues, what do you think you should do? For one is write it down, but two, you're gonna write a lot of things down, but what is a better idea? Well, ask someone, that's a good idea. What else? Bring somebody, what else? was trying to get into my Chrome here, and it was not getting me in, so if you can help me. And this is Daniel, right? He's our help here in the memorial. We need you also in the School of Business. Maybe we can export you there to get help here. So we're having problems see on my computer. So what other ideas do you have? Nikki, you have an idea for him?
You can ask the classmates.
Okay, he asked the classmate, what other ideas?
Look it up.
Well, besides he can look up, he doesn't even know what to look up, right, Brandon? It's like, where am I getting it? What else?
What's your line here?
What?
Wherever your credentials.
Where do you want me to come? Oh, again? I tried to do it before and it didn't. Yeah, I did. But I did, but it was working fine. So this is S reckoning, this is my path. So, what other idea? What did we learn? What was one of our first assignments? Yasmin?
You can look at the live stream.
He can look at the live stream. That's one. We're getting close. Yeah, that's one. He can look at the live stream. What else? First of all, Brandon, it's what you can do is you can screencast it, or you can just print the screen where you got stuck. So was it because you couldn't log in? Was it at the point where you didn't know? Did you actually, after the class, did you actually go back to the lab?
I was asking my friends though.
Okay, but you have to go into the lab. How are your friends? And who are your friends in the class that you were asking? Did they have issues too?
Yeah.
In your group?
Yeah.
Okay, so as a group, what should you do is, one of the things you can do is you can look up, do you know other groups in there? Are people uploading homework? Do you have access to other groups? Brandon?
Yeah.
So one of the ideas is to get, one is when you go to the lab, what should you do is if you get stuck, one of the first things to do is even print screen where I got stuck. I pressed on this. Another thing is even to do a screencast.
Or you could look at what other people do.
And you can look at other, and then you can contact other people, right? And basically have them help you. And Brandon, who's in your group, Brandon? Okay, so Trudy, did you get it to work, Ninja Trader?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things is, as in your group, is make sure that everybody in your group, you see that, Brandon? Everybody in your group, at least, are on the same page. That's why we have a group. And then when Trudy can help you, Brandon, you can help Trudy when she gets stuck. Okay? So those are issues in which we got it. So do we have it?
Yeah.
Okay, what was the issue? Here.
Your password changed.
My password changed, okay, they're active. And then we'll try to get this up and running too. Thank you.
So, yeah, I got that.
We got issues, right?
So, this is
Right. So what, did you hear what Daniel said? Brandon, did you hear what Daniel said? We're trying to get Windows on this machine so we can do Ninja Trader. And he said he tried to get his co-worker to get it done. And he didn't get it done, so what do we need to do? Is basically the same ideas, right, Matt, is what? Check and recheck. He's expecting his co-worker to do it. We're having always these issues, right? And you can't just because you tell somebody to do it, is it gonna happen? Kristen, not necessarily, or even they think it's being done, right? But people don't go for the first and the second and the third lesson on there. What else? So what do you think to do? Do you have any ideas? Hmm? Yeah, you. Yeah. You'll have to do it yourself. Did you hear how we delegated authority? He thought he was going to have all these people work for him because what? Then he would have some free time, and guess what? You end up having to do it yourself. So,
But Ninja Trader doesn't work on Apple?
no, it doesn't work on an Apple. That's right. That's why the students are having the same issues, right? So we need two ideas here. We want to have Windows here, and then we want to be able to unlock it so we can download that Ninja Trader here on Windows, so the next time we come, we don't have to download it each time. It's free. Is it free, folks? Okay, so download it for me. It's Ninja Trader 7 that we need 32-bit.
Well, we have 64-bit, no?
What?
Our computers are 64.
Yeah, but 32-bit will work on a 64-bit. Okay? Okay, everything is confusing, right, when you know it. Okay, so I need to go to Creator Studio. Let's see if we always have issues. And we should put it in Stride. What other problem? So we got the idea. We'll go over a couple of things today again, Brandon, to make sure that it's done. How many people want to have the classes in the lab rather than here? Raise your hand. So let's put a note here. Let's, for next week, Brandon, everybody, you can put a note. Anyone who's not here for the tech, we'll do the class in the lab, and we have an exam in 2 weeks. We'll do the exam also in the lab. So we won't be squished here like little sardines. So at least we'll have some space. Yes. Question.
I'm assuming when we do an exam review.
I'm going to do exam review. I'm going to start today, and then I'm going to continue next week. How does that sound?
I'm excited.
Good.
Excited to hear
Good.
what's on.
I'm excited too. So I'm excited that you're excited. Okay, so everybody's excited. Not too much excitement, you know, or else nobody will know what to do. Okay. So we have here, everything is easy when you know it, and I want to change accounts. Let's see here. Let me try this account. Let me try to get in, and let me try here. Let's say okay. All right. So I need to find. Do you find the Hangouts on Air for today? Yes. So I found the Hangouts on Air today. I'm going to start the Hangout, and let's see if I can start the Hangout so we can record. So Brandon, if you can, like people are saying, we can see the recording, but also you can get other. First of all, check with your group. And after we get with your group, we can see it. Okay, and then we can see if we're recording correctly. What other questions do we have besides Brandon? And then we had another question about the exam. We'll start with the exam. We'll have the exam in 2 weeks, and we'll have it in the lab. So until further notice, let's try the lab. And let's see what issues we have if we overcome. Yes, Alan.
You wanted me to say that NinjaTrader was in the back.
Okay. Brandon, NinjaTrader, you know we were having the classroom where we were in last time? There's 2 labs down in Stubblefield. There's that one lab that we were in for classes, and then there's a second one in the back lab. Thank you very much, Alex. There's a second lab, and there's 2 different types of NinjaTrader here. So we need to make sure, do NT, is that what it says there, Alex, NT7? That works. So make sure you see, write that down, Brandon, and others that had issues. NT7 in the lab works. There's an NT7 64-bit. And what happened with that, Matt? Doesn't work. Did somebody try to install it? Did somebody check? They didn't check well, right? So in this case, that NT7 works, and you can be, some people were trying it, they said there was a class going on. So that lab, you can check in the lab if it's working. So what do I need to do? What's my first thing I need to do? I have to start my broadcast. I have to start my broadcast. I'm going to say okay, right? And we'll see if it's starting, if we're getting, and we're live here, that's good. I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to share. And we've done well up to now. Okay, perfect. Something works. Do we know that if it's, how do we know, how can you find it? Brandon, how can you find the recording? Do we need, let's say this is recorded and I've done this, or I did it last week. Who can help them? What?
It's on your blog.
It's on my blog, and where are you going to find my blog? It's good, my blog, right? But where is it? What are you going to say? No clue.
You're gonna probably find it on Blackboard though.
Where am I going to find it? Who can tell me? Who's ever Trudy? You have an idea? Where do I look?
Isn't it like?
Isn't it like?
It's
It's
like
like, huh? So where is it? So maybe put it in your notes there. So it's Steemit, STEEMIT.com/the @ the psycho. So go there now and see if you can see it. make mistakes all the time, right, Nikki? I'm gonna make mistakes all the time, and what do you have to do? Check, recheck, and what your duty here and my duty is check each other. Right, Brandon? So rather than waiting a week, what we can do is, okay, so where do I go inside here? What date should I look for? Today. So I'm going to go into today. Are you there? Brandon?
I can't talk and do both.
Okay, so let's go. Sydney, are you there?
It says,
Are you there?
After the age of,
It's Steemit, STEEMIT.com/the @THEPSYCH and co, like company, Psych Co. And where should we go now, Sydney? Mike, where should we go?
You go to short URL.
Short URL. I'll go to the short URL and we'll see. Maybe it's not even going. And then looks like it is. But who knows? Okay. So why is your face there?
Because he's watching.
Okay. All right. So hey, here we got it here in live. We got here. Okay. So then, all right. But we should be. I should be sharing my screen. Why am I getting you instead of sharing the screen? Huh? Did you hijack me? He's so excited, right? Yeah. So I should be able to see in this case. Let me close this. And see in this case here what I'm having. Okay, so we're having too much fun here. It looks like.
I know short.
So what happened here? Did I lose my stream or what? Huh?
Maybe the down arrow.
Yeah. What happened? What is that? Oh, here. Okay, so I have my screen here. All right, and then I should be, why do we have it here in terms of my way here? So we're here, did we start the broadcast? Yes, we're live. And let me share my screen share. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and then I got Noah here, and he decided to be on it with us. So you took the long link, Noah, right?
Yeah.
Not the short link. So we could have, folks, when you're doing that, if Stone is at home and you want to participate, you can take the long link, and then just like he was, you could even be as a guest speaker. The short link is not. Okay, so Noah, so everybody gets to see your face, but in this case, let's screencast this. Okay, so we got that part. So in this way, I want to go another one here.
Let's go.
So we got this part, and what does this say? Do you want to allow program? We'll say yes. What is this trying to do here? Who knows? Okay, I don't want this one. And what else? Who else is having issues about this class? Other issues we'll talk about offline, but issues for this class. Okay. So we want to go to courses.miami.edu. I want to log in. And I want to log in with my username, right? And password. Let's see if it'll get me here. Okay. I'll take my password and let's see if we're in. Okay. So, I'm here. So to see my regular class, which one should I go to? BTE 210KX. This is my regular class. Everybody go into BTE 210KX. Are you in there, Mike?
I'm yelling.
So, let's go to assignments. And you should hear so we have a test coming up, and the test will cover Chapter 1, TG1, TG2, Chapter 5, which is data, and Chapter 4, which is security.
Do you think studying the assignments you gave us right there is
It's the beginning, that's the first thing I would start
first
with.
thing, and then you want us to go to chapters?
And going the back. I'll do an extensive review next week, but one of the things that I will like you to do is start already even going through these chapters again. I'm going to go up to this. So I'm going to go Chapter 1, TG1, which is hardware, TG2, which is software, the security, which is Chapter 4 that I'm going over today, and Chapter 5.
Okay.
I'm not going to add another chapter. Okay? I think we have enough of that material. So that part, there's going to be 2 parts to the exam. The first part will be from the book, and the second part will be the additional readings we do and what we've done in the lab, and I'll go over it today and I'll go over it next week.
Is most of it multiple choice?
The part from the book is multiple choice. The part from what we're doing is going to be questions.
For short answer?
Well, short meaning a page, a question.
really?
Oh, really? Yes.
Would you also say study the PowerPoints?
Yeah, PowerPoints are good too to start. Okay, I'll go over extensive review, but what I suggest you do, the first part, Jerry, is go through all this material and problems that you have that you're not clear about. I do the PowerPoints, I do the quizzes, the back of the book, you know, it has the glossary, going through the glossary, making sure you do it, and those issues that you don't understand for this time is ask me next week. We'll meet where? In the lab. So this way we'll meet in the lab, and I'll go over also what possible open-ended questions will be. So there won't be any surprises. You may not know the answers, but nobody won't say, hey, you know how you're all nervous and say, I never knew that she would ask me these types of questions.
Okay.
So we'll be prepared to know what types of questions you are, and we'll go over and make sure we're doing what? Agile development, meaning that if we don't get it this time, what will we do is we'll try to keep on improving to get it excellent next time. So these are the chapters we have. We have in terms of course documents. What I want today is under PowerPoints, I want to download, and you can download it with me, I want security. I want also the automated trading systems here. You see this where it says 21119? I want these two. What is this problem? I don't want this. It's this one. Okay, so I want this one. I want to open the automated trading systems. Do that now. And I want chapter 4. I want to open this one too. So this automated trading system you should have, and chapter 4 you should have as well. So we'll do the first part. We'll go over this material, and then we'll go for a bit. We'll take like a 5-10 minute break, and then we'll go for the second part. We'll go over your additional assignment for Excel and NinjaTrader for next week. Okay? So we got the any questions up to now? So Kristen, how are we doing? Okay? All right. So by the way, let me just go to I'm going to go to my Gmail here. Let's see if it works. You see this? Everybody see this? What does it say, Matt? Ruby Fernandez. Type in University of Miami, Ruby Fernandez. I got this today. Right, I got this today. No, I didn't get this today. I got it was sent February 14th, but I got it today at 4:06. Everybody see what I did? What did you find? Jack, what did you find? Ruby Fernandez. Did you see this? Catherine, did you see? Ruby Fernandez, University of Miami.
I see a Ruby Fernandez, not Ruby.
Oh, Ruby? Right. From Ruby Fernandez, and you see a Rudy, right? And what's the name of Rudy? It's Rudy Fernandez, and what's his title? What is it, he or she? He, and what's his title?
Senior Vice President for Public Affairs, Communications, and Chief.
Right, in communications. And I got this. Hello, I want you to do something important for me tomorrow when you get to the office, so send me an email, good night. I swear I got this. I'll show you other ones that I got. I got one, I'm in Dr. Frank's office. Can you reach me? And it said, can you reach me? And someone else wrote, I'm in Dr. Frank's office and he needs some gift cards. Can you contact me? So what they did was they took, did you get any of these? They took the faculty, and it's public, right? The faculty emails, and they started putting. So this one, it makes it as if, and if I look at it, notice this, Ruby, instead of Ruby, right? Outlook.com, and it's going via my business.miami.edu. I'm getting spam almost on a daily basis. Coming with, and people, and then what they end up doing is they take the list, and can you help me? I need some gift cards. And there's people in this university that respond, right? They're really good doobies, you know, those doobies kind of, and they want to help, and they say, yes, I can help. And what do they want? Gift cards, right? That Dr. Frank needs an Apple gift card from me, right? I think the guy makes more money than I do. I don't think he needs an Apple gift card from me, even though I like the guy, you know what I mean? If I want to, he could buy me a gift card. But we're getting these all the time, and one of the things that you can see here is how do we stop this, and a lot of times there are links here that we get all the time. So security ends up being the biggest issue that we can think of at this time. So let me go to the slideshow and just review this from the current slide and let you know what we need to do here. In information security, basically, there are factors or vulnerabilities here, and a key here is human mistakes and social engineering. What is social engineering? Who can tell me? Who can raise their hand and tell me? What is it, Alex?
It's taking advantage of people.
Taking advantage of people, schmoozing. Anybody know the word schmoozing? It's basically the idea that you become friendly with people and then you social engineer. I'll give you an example. You remember we tried to do the lab last week? And you remember when we tried to erase on the board basically I wrote a note to the head of IT in the School of Business expressing what actually happened, right? That the microphone, right, those guys just left us. They said they were going to change the batteries, right, Matt? Never showed up. So they had someone from the School of Business, not the director called me, but called me on my cell phone. What's my cell phone number? The cycle, right? They called me on the cycle. I usually don't get calls from them. I answered the phone and they said, oh, this is from IT. The head of IT told me to call you about your issues. So I say, what are my issues? So they said, I don't know what your issues are. So basically that's a way in which to do social engineering, right? Start talking to me. Oh, maybe there's a problem here. If you give me your user ID and password, I can get you in. So one of the things here you'll see here is when we do social engineering, there's going to be an issue here for controls. And how do you do this? There's going to be unintentional threats to the system and what we call intentional threats. What's the difference between unintentional and intentional?
Probably intended and not intended.
Right. Well, what does that mean? Basically, somebody did it on purpose or somebody just made a mistake. Innocuous mistake. Oh, I forgot. I just pressed the email. Or what I did is I put a little tag here and I put my, I forget, I had to change my user. Did you see that? I had to change my password. So I just put a little sticky there to remember what my password is. Right? It was unintentional, but we can do that. So you can see here in security, when you're going to be looking at your problems, is this is what you need to know. We're talking about review for the exam, Ryan. What we need to know is besides security and information security, you need to know the difference, and you can write that down, the difference between a threat, an exposure, and a vulnerability. The difference between a threat, exposure, and vulnerability. And the whole key for all this cybersecurity issues is that we can never be 100% secure, but we need to know what are our threats, what are our assets, how much do we want to spend in terms of securing our assets. It's an example, for instance, if you have $100,000, let's say, condo versus a $10 million house, and you're going to put security and you're going to pay for security, you know that you're going to probably, your house of $10 million should be having, maybe spending more than your $100,000 condo. And then you're going to talk about how am I vulnerable. So in terms of vulnerability, as soon as we get onto the internet, we're vulnerable, right? As soon as, are we logged into the internet? Are you logged in? Stone, you're logged in already. As soon as you're logged into the internet, you've become vulnerable. You become vulnerable in the way, how did you log on to the internet? Diana, how did you log on to the internet? Was it through Comcast? What was the network you logged into? What do I mean? If you look at what is your, how did you log in? Did you have to put in a username and a password? At one time, from what? From what network? Caitlin, right? So you know the answer, right? Diana, so it's basically you're using what? The university's infrastructure here in their network. Do you think that people around the world want to get into that network? Yeah, why? Because there's so many people on it. There's the idea of even what? ID, identification. One of the vulnerabilities is that there are these what we call bots. And what are bots? Alex, what's a bot? B-O-T. It's not a computer, but it's what? A bot can be what? It's software, right? That basically then can attack any computer and also can take over your computer. So what do people like to do around the world? Are there any laptops you think on this campus? Thousands, right? You're hooked to, Diana, you're hooked to the network. All these thousands of laptops are hooked to the network. And when one person or a group of people want to do an exploit on another system, what they do is They want power. And what can they do? They can take over your laptop and basically take over and create malicious activities, and you're not even aware of it on your behalf. So this is the case in which they have it. There's also what we call, in this case, human errors or social engineering. We talked about what social engineering is, and then of course, unintentional is human errors. So social engineering is unintentional on behalf of the end user that was basically innocent. They gave out information, but social engineering on the fact that somebody wanted to get information from you is not intentional. Let's look at this. This you should know. This figure here, Ryan, you were asking me, figure 4.1 in your text or in the PowerPoints is what you need to know. Basically, it's what we call outside threats. What are outside threats? It's basically, it can come from outside from the internet, and if you see in the internet, there's unauthorized users that are trying to get in, let's say, to the university's network. There's people that are trying to hack into it. There's what we call DOS, denial of service. Michael, what's denial of service? Who can help them? What's denial of service? DOS, you'll need to know this for the exam. Denial of service. Raise your hand. Yes.
It's a, do you want the exact definition?
It's what, Jerry?
It's an interruption of an authorized user's access to a computer network, typically one caused with malicious intent.
Okay, so basically what denial of service is what a hacker will do, or what a software bot will do, is many times try to, what they call ping, P-I-N-G, a server, and they do it in high frequency. They can do it like millions or multiple millions of times at one time to basically deny service to other people. So they'll take a website, and rather than you going one time and someone else going in one time, they create what we call a software bot, and they may try to attack that service basically millions of times over. They basically flood a server in such a degree that the server can't respond anymore. And that's why they call it denial of service. It's DOS. And then they have something else called DDoS, which is distributed, which means they can basically distribute those attacks from all over the world. So I have this in terms of the internet. It can come from outside threats, can come from natural disasters, like if we had a hurricane, right, or power things. And then you can think about within the corporate internet, employees can be our best help, but our employees, if I have employees, they can be what? They know the vulnerabilities, so they can be threats as well. I have outside insiders, system software, and hardware threats. So the hardware threats can be from viruses, from malware, physical theft, databases, unauthorized access, copying, theft. We're having spring break come out. Did I tell you what happened here during spring break a couple of years? We have PCs here. What do we have up on the ceiling? Cameras. Those are what we call IP cameras. IP stands for what? Internet protocol, meaning what? They're connected to the internet. If I know the username and the password, I can get into that camera and see what's happening here. We have locks on the door. How are these locks on the door working? Anybody have a clue? Is there somebody that comes and locks it manually? No. It's automatic, meaning what? If it's automatic, it's what? It's basically a control system somewhere that it's software, and basically what are they trying to do? Is basically they say, when should this be open? When should this door be open? Any ideas? Let's think about it. Okay, 7:45 a.m., when should it lock up?
9:30, 10.
Let's say 10 o'clock, right? Let's say even simple, from 7 to 10, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Should it be 7 days a week? No, let's say Monday through Friday, maybe special, we'll open it up if there's some kind of Saturday thing. Okay? That was logged in. A couple of years ago, and when do we have? We have spring break. When is spring break here? Anybody know? Okay, so basically some people know better than others, right? The 9th through the 17th, right, is spring break. When I came back from spring break, one year, there are Apple machines in here. All the Apple computers were stolen after spring break. We got cameras. They went to the cameras, and what they found was, at that time, I think the cameras maybe weren't working. Do we know these cameras are working? When I move like this, is that camera moving? I don't even know. We don't even know. It could be, you know, I used to have a Honda Civic a long time ago. I had a little blinking light that looked like it was, you know, security camera. It was no security. You know, it was no security, but it was a thing. I thought, well, maybe a dumb thief would not break into mine. So who knows if this was working, but it didn't work. So basically what happened? Everybody understand what happened? Come back from spring break, I'm ready to go, right? Tell somebody to get on the computer, there's no computer. So I said, okay, let's go to the next room. No computer. They wiped out every computer here. So what happened? What were they, basically, when you remember we talked about, I need to know about what are my threats if something could be stolen, right? And I need to know the value of the assets. Maybe one Apple is not that expensive, but if I have 100 rooms here, it can get pretty expensive. Plus, it's a pain in the butt to replace. So what happened? What was the problem with the controls? Who can tell me? So this, Ryan, what was the scenario? Did you understand the scenario?
Yes.
What's the scenario?
Someone broke into all the classrooms over spring
What,
break,
over spring break?
stole all the computers.
Right, so what do you think, and we said that the doors are supposed to be open, or the door's supposed to be open during spring break.
No.
So what do you think happened? What was the
I think
problem?
they probably forgot to block out the week and just left it open Monday through Friday.
Right, that somebody said, right, because I told the person, just like Daniel was here, right, that says to the person, right, I told somebody to put windows there. So somebody said, hey, do the schedule and put the class schedule, and doesn't it say in our class calendar, everybody checks when spring break is. Did you check, Ryan, this year when spring, you're right. That's the first thing we check, right? Is when does it end, when does it begin, when does the class end, and when's spring break, right? The most important thing.
Right.
Spring break is probably the most important, right, for the semester. So what happened is they just left it open. Do you think it was an inside job?
Maybe.
Probably, maybe, right? The following year, spring break, come back, and guess what happened?
They're all gone again.
They're all, do me once, right? Your mother says, right? Again. Unbelievable. And what is that? That's in this case, it's what? A human error. We can have, and it doesn't need to be, we don't have to be rocket scientists, right? We all know when spring break is, it's published. It's not like it's a secret, you know, nobody's saying it when spring break, guess, you know? You even know a year ahead of time, at least. So you can see a lot of this is human error. Some of it you can't, but you can do those updates. So one of the things here is you can even say there's probably like employees or the friend, Ryan, the friends of friends, right? Hey, why don't you come, you know? And then what do they have to do? They just have to pass by, right? And then afterwards, then they started putting up, did you see on the hallways here? They also have
More
cameras,
cameras.
more cameras. They ended up in the last couple of years added more cameras here. Because this one, I guess nobody was looking at. Second of all, even if they're stealing, you gotta go find those guys. Who were they even? But there should be something that, there's an alert, right? But the first thing was. So you can see that when you're going through this, that these security threats, some of it is simple, and some of it you have to check and recheck. So Matt, what I'm telling you is, when they're telling you that he says, right, this has to be updated, the same thing, you can see even, he's the head of computers and computer security here, he tells somebody, but what happened is he never checked what that person did. And it's, I'm sure somebody assigned it and said, you know, hey Matt, go ahead and fill out the response of when the doors are locked. I could give it to you. You could figure out how to put it in, but somebody then didn't check to say, oh, did we get spring break? And then also to say, hey, it happened to us again. Did it happen? It could have been the employees even changed, right? The next year, Ryan, the next year it ended up having, maybe it was a new student assistant that was supposed to be, he didn't know the history. And there was a new, somebody else got promoted and they forgot about it. So there's not the history. So you can think about common things that are common human errors that we can think about. So you can think about carelessness, you can think about it, the social engineering, deliberate threats then become really important. That identity theft, it's the idea, hey, you know, maybe you don't have a lot of money now, but I just, anybody ever see that movie, Catch Me If You Can? Anybody? So it was the guy that did it, he basically impersonated everybody, went around the world. He was an airline pilot, he was a doctor, he was a computer hacker. And when he got out of prison, he worked for the FBI to help them with the hackers. I went to see him giving a talk. And you know me, I'm kind of cynical about people. I don't trust people very much, right? And when people are conning me, I always kind of have that little sense of, hey, you're conning me. I went to this dinner. It was at the Four Seasons. So of course I went, you know, lobster, you know, filet mignon, right? Want to go for a free dinner. They invited me for tech. And when somebody speaks and a fancy dinner like that, everybody just eats. At this point, everybody's mouth was ajar and not even eating. This guy was so good as a speaker. I was just in awe. You know, he tells a story about, you know, how he did it, and then also how he's found, maybe he said, I found God. I don't know if he said that, but you know, how he's reformed and so forth and what he's doing. But one of the things he said is where the biggest cons are going to be in the future are with university students. And he goes, they'll steal the information and then they won't use it for maybe 5 or 6 years. Because one is they don't have really good jobs now, but in 5 or 6 years they will. Also, when they start using that information, they won't remember where 5 or 6 years I was vulnerable. So he did that. And then after, when I ended up driving home, I realized that he conned me too. It was so good that I realized that I was so impressed by him. I was probably conned by him too. But you'll see here the deliberate theft or identity theft or compromise to intellectual property or espionage. One of the things now you'll see is quite common. Where's my marker? Is there a marker around? Is there an extra marker? Yeah. Look at that little. Okay, thank you so much. Is, put this in your notes here, ransomware. Anybody know what that is? Anybody hear about it? Yes.
It's like the malware that they put on your computer. It's kind of like they have to pay a ransom to kind of get your stuff back.
Yeah. You know, like, God forbid, you know what I mean? Somebody kidnapped you, right? You would hope your parents maybe would, and they say, hey, you know what? I got here your son, right? Pay off. And you hope your parents will say, yeah, we'll pay, right? You don't want to say, well, keep them. You know, you don't want them to say that, right? So if I go to Google and I type in ransomware, hospitals, 2018. The biggest healthcare data breaches of 2018, ransomware attack breaches 40,000 patients in Hawaii, right? Hospital ransom weekend attacks care 2 Ohio hospitals. Cyber criminals target hospitals with SamSam ransomware attacks. Why all these hospitals? Any ideas? Why all these hospitals? Look at this. Ransomware, serious business for hackers. Ransomware for hospitals, the reason is twofold. One is they don't have that good security. And the second reason is they really need their computer systems to work. Just think about it, Sarah. You're going to go into a hospital, your grandmother's going to go into the hospital, right? All of a sudden, they steal all the records. The computer is down, they can't get into the system. She's supposed to go for surgery. Do you think the hospital's going to pay? They end up paying. And they end up paying, and the guys that are doing it are asking for like 30,000, 40,000, 60,000. Is that a lot for a hospital? Nothing, right? What do they pay them in? What do you think? Who do you think they say put the dollar bills underneath, next to the tree, next to the McDonald's? What?
Cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrency, what kind?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, right? Why?
So it's not traceable?
It's not traceable. They do it in Bitcoin, and now a number of hospitals, for insurance purposes, set up Bitcoin accounts, wallets for that. And the amount that they needed the next day, they've taken hostage the network, the computer network, and say, hey, you can't operate anymore. We'll release it when you do it. So you'll see that the ransomware, you'll be able to see that this is done all the time, where you're able to see that. So you got the deliberate ones. You got the required actions of viruses, worms, phishing attack. What's a phishing attack? It looks like phishing. You need to know this for the exam. What's a phishing attack? Do you have your phone, Michael? What's a phishing attack? Paul, what's a phishing attack? You're on your phone, might as well look it up.
Might as well.
Right?
Phishing attack.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the P. Phishing is a type of social engineering attack often used to steal user data, including login credentials and credit card numbers. It occurs when an attacker, masquerading as a trusted entity, dupes a victim into opening an email, instant message, or text message.
So it's basically saying, I'm your bank, right? I'm a Citibank. I throw out Citibank or Wells Fargo, and hopefully you're opening it and say, hey, basically you have a new account, something about your new account. You click in, put your username, and then they're phishing in the way that they're looking, they're targeting. There's targeted phishing. There's basically spear phishing is more exact when they're basically trying to attack, and they make it look very similar, but there's problems. We talked about denial of service. We talked about distributed denial of service attacks. You need to know those. And in software attack, there's Trojan horses, backdoors, logic bombs. Basically, the logic bomb, if I have an employee that I fire, what happens? Do they have access to the system, Matt? They could at that time, and before they're getting fired or before I remove them from the system, they can put a logic bomb and basically say, hey, let's go ahead and do some malicious activities 2 months from now. And basically that logic meaning after, let's say, March 15th, or let's do it on March 9th, there's what, spring break, nobody pays attention, let's create some habits. So they're doing it on the back door. So these are ways in which key loggers, basically then I can just put in a USB on your machine and basically record every login, every keystroke you do. I can track where you are, what you're doing. And this is what you need to know. The difference between, put this in your notes, the difference between what is a risk what do I do for risk analysis, and what is risk mitigation. So risk, any, let's say, computer asset, I'm taking a risk by having other people use my system, basically being on the internet, I'm taking a risk. I'm going to analyze how expensive, what are my assets, and how expensive is it for me to be infiltrated. And then what I have to do is I have to mitigate my risk. What's a way to mitigate my risk, Ryan? Is, for instance, even physical, right? That I make sure that the doors are closed after 10 p.m. and the doors are closed on spring break. Right? Even in reading days, they close the rooms here, and I have to get, Ryan, during reading days for the final exam, I like to use reading days to do an additional review for you. So I have to ask in permission to basically, they unlock the doors, for instance, between 6:30 and 9 on reading days. It should be locked automatically, and it should be checked automatically for that system to work. So I have to be able to know how much risk am I able to accept, what is my risk limitation, and can I transfer the risk to, let's say, an insurance company. So I can take out insurance, so if I do get hacked, some insurance company will take over. Makes sense, right? I want to transfer my risk. Now, you need to know this slide. You need to know what I need. I know there's always going to be risk, so what do I want to do? I want to control my risk. Who locks their car when they leave? Why do you do that? Basically, you're trying to not make it so easy for somebody to break in. Who has an alarm on their car? If you have an alarm on their car, what is it? I'm making it harder. I'm setting up controls. Who locks their door at home? You're basically going to be able to say, I don't need to have my door wide open. Did you hear about that horrible situation? It was near the Publix here. This guy, I guess he was homeless or something. It was one of those apartments that they don't have locks on the door. It's just like open. And basically a guy was just going through and trying each door. Or did you hear about it?
I think you like knocked my car over.
Yeah, they did.
He
this.
did?
They did this at our apartment too. Yeah, it's so bad.
Wow. Scary, huh?
The door, like, try to open it.
And trying to open it, right? And then you don't even think of it. It's so easy to kind of say, hey, I'll leave it, coming in and out, I'll leave it open. Those are the kind of things when you think about it. You read this book, what are they talking about? You think about controls. You need to lock, basically, on those areas. You think about that, but it's harder when you think about security in the computer. Right, because it seems so amorphous. Physically, it's easy to think to yourself, "Hey, I got to lock my car door. I have to lock my, my door in where I'm living, even in the dorms, right? That you're going to be able to lock it. So you have to be careful about that. So what are they doing? Is they're checking. That's what happens with these hackers. They're seeing who has it, the least amount of things. So I have physical controls, which are like locking doors, physical. I have access controls, meaning who has access and what roles do they have. Just like I have two sections that I'm in, right? I have my regular BTE course and then I have my audit course. They have different roles. Why are those access roles? Is that you don't have access to one version. Communication controls. And then I have something, put this in your notes, sometimes it's called BCP, Business Continuity Planning. It means if there is a disaster, do I have plans to continue my business? Think about it. What kind of physical harm can we have on this campus? We can have hurricanes. Is the campus ever shut when there's a hurricane? For 2 weeks, what happens to them? It may be I set a continuity plan that I may have, let's say, New Orleans, I may have them pick up my students, or what's another idea? I may have online classes. But the problem with online is we may not have internet access. So you always have to kind of think about what's the business continuity plan that if I do have a problem, how am I going to continue the business? Many times I need to have servers in different parts of the world. What's the problem having servers in San Francisco? What's the problem, Michael?
What's Miami's plan?
Huh?
What is, do you know what Miami's plan is if we live in?
We have to find out. Well, when they come, they'll tell us. Sometimes we have to see if they're planning it. In part, they were thinking maybe they'll go to another, location. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they basically, the last hurricane, what did they do? Is they just closed campus for a couple of weeks and then just took off a couple of other days, extended the semester another week or so. And that's the thing, when it's devastated, and think about the University of Miami, think about a business that, you can take off for 2 weeks, Michael, and you come back, and you'll do another week in the class. But think about a business, think about you're an e-commerce business, you're down, your server's down, you lost money, and what happens to your customer? They go somewhere else. When there was a big hurricane in New Orleans, the University of Miami took some of those students. It was so devastating, the hurricane. The university, for graciousness, said, you know what, we're a consortium, we'll take the students from, Emory and not in Emory, to Tulane, right? We'll have them come. And you know what happened? Some of the students came here and stayed. Right? They say, hey, Miami doesn't look so bad. I can go to South Beach in New Orleans, maybe they don't have a beach, So there's a difference here, and maybe you can do it. Any other
No,
comments?
we're going to say that they also did that for the hurricane in Puerto Rico.
And Puerto Rico, too. Right? That they have it. It's so devastating, right? And the question is, are those Puerto Rican kids going to go back? And that's the problem, too, And maybe not. So sometimes they do it as well. And then you have what they call information systems auditing, meaning you have auditors coming in and saying, where are you vulnerable? And how can you improve your weaknesses? And then I talked about it, like the white hackers I talked about. Well, they'll go into your system. You give them permission, hack into my system and see if you can get in. And then, if you can get in, find me ways in which I can protect myself. It's almost like people do that. I think a lot of those hackers end up working for the FBI or so forth, because they say, even, those guys that rob houses or rob banks, they can say, hey, where are you vulnerable, right? And, sometimes you see that on TV, right? Don't have bushes in front of your house, have a dog, types of ideas. Same thing with information systems. So these are physical controls, that guards, walls, alarm systems. I don't have to tell you about this. It's where the defense mechanisms are located, and basically I need to find those physical controls. Authentication, we talked about authorization, dual identity authorization. You know this, right? You know this already from what? You have to get, even getting into Blackboard, you need every 30 days to get it. Authentication, you need to know what it is. Something the user is, something the user has, something the user does. Passwords, basic guidelines for passwords. There are now so many passwords that are even online. People can get their passwords, even though you say upper, lowercase. A lot of people are saying this starts to be outdated. People can crack it quite quickly if they want to. And then firewalls, communications, encryption, VPN, virtual private networking. What does that mean? The internet is what we call hypertext transfer protocol, and in the internet it's not private, it's public. You can create what you call a private network. And then you can see here that I need to put up some kind of security to prevent people from hacking into my system. Okay? And then this is the internet. Business continuity planning. You need to know the difference between my recovery plan. I have to do what I call a hot site and a cold site. If I'm an internet service, Michael, and let's say I am e-commerce, and let's say we're in San Francisco, our servers are in San Francisco, and what are they vulnerable to? What kind of physical tragedies is San Francisco vulnerable to?
Earthquakes.
Earthquakes, right? get a massive earthquake there, fire, everything, it's destroyed. So I want to set up what I consider to be a hot site. And a hot site basically is that we can get up and running somewhere else automatically. Hot means it's ready to go. A cold site, they don't do it as often, but a cold site is I'm going to set up a place that I know I'm going to put my servers, but I can't get up and running quickly. It's going to take me time. Think about that idea, anybody here, 9/11, right, where it was destroyed New York City. One of the problems was Citibank in New York. They had all their servers, guess where? Down by Wall Street. What happened? They basically had to figure out how they can do it, and one of the ideas of Congress says is Citibank cannot just have one site, they have to have multiple sites. So you have auditors that will execute this. And that is chapter 4 that deals with security. So what I like for next week for you to do is review all that material that we haven't had time for, because we a lot of you just did you just did the quizzes and didn't go into detail, but go into detail for next week and then ask me questions. This part I didn't understand. I don't understand the difference between a hot site and a cold site, or I don't understand the difference between HTTP and HTTPS, right? Look at those glossaries behind it. You know how you have open-ended, right, that you can search on it, you can do. Everybody with me on this one? So let's do this. Let's take a 5-minute break. And then we'll get for our assignment for next week on Excel, and then I'll answer some questions. I'll show you some things about NinjaTrader. Okay, so we got the theory down. We got that part, and then I'll start with the open-ended, and then I'll talk about what types of questions will be on the exam on the open-ended part. Okay? Because I think what I want is everyone to do well. My purpose is not to trick you. My purpose is not to be, surprises that you say, hey, where did that come from left field? So if you do the work, you know what I mean, and you're participating, you should do well. Okay? So we'll prepare. Everything is prepared. So let's take a 5-minute break, and then I'll get my stuff ready, and we'll start the second part. And so what did we get from Daniel? Did we get his email? Alice. Okay, so what was his last name? Okay, it's abbreviated, but we have it. Okay. Send it to him. Tell him, thank you for coming to class. CC me. Thanks for coming to class. We appreciate it, but we need to have it for, even though we're probably next week, we'd like to have it for Wednesday. We'd like to have Windows up and running.
Yeah.
With Ninja NT, at least get into the NT7 32-bit. We'll be here for Wednesday. Next, you know what I mean? So at least we'll get it. And we're going to meet where? Next week? Lab. So that way, I think it's better. What do you think?
Yeah.
What? I like the bigger. Huh? It's bigger. You're not like the little sardine here. And also, if you need to figure out with the windows, also, it's kind of more quiet. I don't know. It's maybe carpet, better chairs. I don't know. We'll try it. If we see the beauty here is we have both rooms reserved. So I want to be able to help you as much as possible. And there, I think I can help you too. Seeing here, I'm going to see this still. Okay. Here, you see, is this on?
Yeah, it's still on.
Okay.
It's just on the other set.
Let me just see. Okay, good, we can see this. Yeah, perfect.
Is there any place to print this building? Do you know?
What?
Do you know if there's any place to print in this building?
I know printing is, I know in the lab school, but I don't know. Library, yeah. I don't think there's like a lab here or something. Yeah. This is more just like classroom. Okay. Now, did you ever write to them to tell them we have issues in the lab?
For here or
For the lab?
yeah.
And what did you tell them?
I said that we still can get this explosive issue.
Okay. So maybe they should, if it's not, maybe they should just, move it. You know, or you want them to try, you think it's an installation?
Probably. I mean, it's just like when a student tries to run it, the shortcut just won't work.
So can you do me a favor too and send them, email them and address it to David? And were there some other people that were supposed to be in charge? Make sure that David is David Charlie, who was CC into me. And just tell them that we went back and the 64 bit is not working. And maybe even, you know, the next time you go to the lab, do a print screen of that, of what the error message is. Because that comes up right away, right?
Yes, you should try that.
And again, when we learn, just go back and forth each time.
Yeah.
Hmm? They responded one time. You know. So Ally, what else do I need to, answer your questions for you on?
Oh, no, I think I'm good now.
Okay.
I'll go to the computer lab after.
Yeah, go to the computer lab, we'll finish early, go to the computer, just make sure even in the start, I'll show you what to do, and then go to the computer lab just to make sure that you can get in.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? So that way it won't be another, like somebody says here, it'll be another week, and then by that week,
Yeah.
it'll be already time for the exam. All right. Come on, are you just finance director or finance?
Finance and
So everybody gets a junk food diet now? everybody sign the roll? Yes, no? Yes, please. So Jack, who's in your group? Mm-hmm.
Us two and Yasmin.
Okay, so when you did the performance, is this yours?
wait.
Yeah, so if I go to group 1 here, and I go to performance reports, this is yours, right, Jack? And where are the others?
I don't need mine updated.
Okay, so you need to get it, and where is it now? You need to get it to upload, because it's an XLS file, you need to upload.
Okay.
Everybody in your group, so if I download this, okay, I have, you want to do a symbol net profit, and I need my profit per month. And then you want to pick 2 other stocks to make comparisons. So you want to have 3 stocks. So let me put this up.
I'm not sure.
So, for each group, this is from last week. So people that, you may want to bring this out with the Ninja Trader, I have all yeses here. When I look at the uploaded, this should be uploaded. You want to pass this around? This should be uploaded. You should have your group assignment should have it uploaded to audit area. And just saying yes here doesn't reflect well on you in terms of, when you remember we talked about integrity of my data. So basically, next time you can do it, but at this time, you need to do it, you need to upload to the audit area, and you need to have 3 symbols in one workbook.
This is for next week?
It should have been for this week, but it'll be for next week.
I thought you said 1.
Yeah, but I'm just saying this will be for next week. 3 symbols in one workbook.
Is that one person?
No, this is, yeah, basically meaning 3 symbols. Each person should have then 3 symbols, and then you can work in the group. So I should have 3 workbooks for a group. So when I have Jack, Jack needs to add 2 more symbols, and then you can help each person in your group make sure that it's uploaded. You got it?
Got it.
So when one person in the group does it, your responsibility is to check with other people in your group, what are their issues? 9 total, but there'll be 3 workbooks.
Wait, what exactly should be in the workbook? Like the
Okay.
one that we did before, the same
Yeah,
thing?
but you should add 2 more symbols.
Okay.
What, the Ninja Trader thing?
We each need 1 or we each need 3?
She added two symbols to.
Okay.
Do you want the code?
The code can be the one.
I thought we did before with
Okay, I'll go over it. Folks, let me go over it now. Folks, there's so much excitement here. Let's go over it.
Did I know? She asked some questions.
And then I don't want you to leave without understanding completely what needs to be done. Because guess what? It's another week. Okay. By the way, I teach the same class on Wednesday night. In the same room. We're going to be here Wednesday night for my other class, and then we're going to go to the lab. But if you want to, either you can sit in again on my Wednesday night, or you can come in after 8:30 and ask me questions. Do you understand that? So, let's start, and then we'll go through the assignment, we'll go through the code, we'll go through everything that needs to be uploaded. Okay? So, I'm going to open up NinjaTrader, and I'm going to be talking about it. But what I want you to do is I want you to understand some things here. So we got to start here, Jack. Okay, and we just need to add two more. So you can do this in Apple. You'll have another sheet on these, and then you can compare, and then you'll be able to see what are the differences between these for this one. Because one of the things that we'll do later on is, do you want to be able to check all night long for thousands of ones? What you want to do is basically have the computer, once we know what we're looking for, have the computer scan every evening, thousands of those. You set up the priorities. I want to have like 0.5% per month. Find me all of those symbols to try out. Okay? And if one person in the group gets it, for instance, Trudy, is reach out to the others. You can't force them to do it, but reach out. And what the beauty here is, you can do a cast with it, a screencast with it, or you can do collaboration. And some of you may want to try out Team Viewer. Team Viewer, everybody write that down. Team Viewer is a collaboration program. Have you ever used it, Alex? Everybody hear what I just said, Sydney? Did you hear? There's a program called Team Viewer. It's a collaboration program that allows you to gain, if somebody gives you access, you can gain access to their computer. So for instance, Trudy, if you want to help somebody in the group and they say, I don't know exactly what I need to do, you can gain access and basically try it out on their computer. So it's a nice way to help you. Have you ever been on those logins? Sometimes people on those help sessions on the phone, they'll say, log me in and things like that, they're able to do it. So this is a nice one, and they also have a recorder there too. So it's similar to collaboration, but you can actually gain access to their computer. Okay, now one of the things people were asking me about, what is going to be on the second part of the exam. Did anybody ask me that? Yeah. Looks like they did, right? So one of the things that I can think about is on my PowerPoint. You should have downloaded this PowerPoint. Did everybody download this PowerPoint? Yes? Anyone not? Who did not? Who does not have that on the machine now? Let's do it now. It resides where? Under the audit area or under the regular area? Kristen? Regular under where? Under the course documents under PowerPoint, right? And you'll see here, automated algorithmic software training and robots. And one of the keys here is, this is what you need to know. What is an algorithm? An algorithm is clearly defined instructions aimed to carry out a task or of a process. I want the computer Jack, I don't want to be sitting, and you don't probably, every night looking at thousands of stocks trying to find what are the best performance. I want the computer to do it, but for us to be able to tell the computer what to do, we have to give it an algorithm. That's why we're doing it manually now. Once we do it for 1, 2, and 3, then we wanted to have it do it for 3,000 and find me the best ones. Everybody with me? We're okay? So that's the whole idea of all these artificial intelligence and all these programs here, is humans have to design it first, and then the computer can find patterns that we don't even see. But we have to have an idea, and the beauty for your jobs many times is to come up with the beginnings and basically check to see if it's doing well. Automated trading then is a process of using computers programmed to find a set of instructions for placing a trade in order to generate profits. If it's not generating profits, do I want it, Stone? No, of course, right? I can lose my own money. I don't need the computer can lose it quicker if it doesn't generate profits, right? So you need to have it done in terms of automating that system. This is what we need to figure out. What's the difference? And this would be good, Jerry. This would be a great idea for an open-ended question. What's the difference between a strategy versus an indicator? Did you hear that, Ryan? What's the difference between then a strategy and an indicator, and trying to find examples of that? An indicator is similar to what we think about in Excel as a function or a formula. An indicator in Excel is similar to what are built-in functions and formulas in Excel. We all know Excel, right? Remember how we did the linear regression, we did the polynomial. We'll end up doing tonight, we'll do even a moving average. All of those built-in are built-in functions or formulas in Excel. That's what an indicator is in automated trading systems. A strategy is a combination of indicators with logic. A strategy is a combination of indicators with logic with built-in buy and sell orders. So a strategy will have the computer buy and sell. It will have it if I want to short a stock. Remember when the stock is going down, it will make that execution. An indicator cannot submit orders. An indicator won't support multiple time frames. An indicator will not do multiple instruments, but a strategy will. Remember we said if the simple moving average, one of the fast is below, then enter long. You remember that, Kristen? Or enter short? All of that is part of a strategy, telling us when to enter, when to sell, when to buy. But an indicator is in essence with that. An indicator, you can put this in your notes then, Jerry, an indicator do not support automatic trading, only strategies do. So we can even do the indicators. When we did something in Excel, did it buy and sell the stocks for us, Nicole? No. It told us, it basically gave us the direction possibly it was going. So Excel can't be a strategy. These trading platforms are a strategy. That's the beauty of when you're thinking about all these when you think about all these high frequency trading systems, you're not having somebody like Matt sit there and say, okay, buy, okay, sell. He's doing it. It's impossible. What he wants to do is he's basically going to be working with a group of people, and they'll be trying to refine the strategy. But the strategy itself, do you understand that, Trudy? The strategy itself will be doing the automated system. Questions? How am I doing? So that, I want you to understand it, and the basics of how we understand it is Excel, right? Excel then has those indicators like the regression, like a moving average, and so forth. So we have this available to us. The advantages, Jerry, another good thing, what's the advantage of an automated trading system? One of the advantages then, it minimizes emotions. What does that mean? That I don't get overly excited. When the market starts dropping, what do? Get out. Let's get out. Sell my stuff. I won't sleep at night, right? I lost 10%, 20%. So it's saying, hey, it's not going to get overly excited like humans do. It has the ability to back test, meaning I can test on my historical data. That's what Jack did, right? He tested on that year data, the historical data, and said, had I taken this strategy, what would the system do? I cannot do that with an indicator. I can do that with a strategy. So I can test. The beauty here, Jack, is he can test thousands of symbols. Without him, he can create a symbol list. I'll show you this later, where you don't have to go pick a whole sector. Let's say of all technology companies or all health sector companies, put in a list of symbols and let the computer basically run through all those. And you remember, I'll show you, we have a moving average. The whole idea of a moving average is we had those parameters, what was fast, what was slow. It can test all the possibilities. It can preserve my discipline, meaning that I don't vary. Oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should go to something else. I can do it. It can improve my order entry. It can diversify trading, that I can do trading multiple accounts or various strategies at the same time. So how am I doing? Okay, everybody understand this idea? So I have my advantages. The disadvantages, everything that has an advantage, Jerry, has what? Disadvantage. What's the disadvantage? How about if my computer fails? How about if my server fails? What happens if I lose internet access? I'm in the middle of a trade. I'm in trouble if I don't have proper backup. And the last one is, if I'm losing, I can lose a lot quicker. I blink my eyes and I'm losing. Here I have to actually put my finger on the, enter button. Here I don't even have to do that. I can do multiple times so I can make my losses. If I don't have good strategy, I can make losses much quicker. And then we talked about these software platforms. Remember we talked about platforms that are specifically designed to do trading. Is Excel specifically designed to do trading? No. I can start doing some of those indicators and understand those indicators, but it's not designed. So they have a number. TradeStation is one. We're using NinjaTrader here just because it's a sample and we can use it in simulation mode. And there's even some companies that do what they call social trading or mirror trading, where we have a group of experts, Jerry, and what we're going to do with those group of experts is they say, log on to our network and just do the exact same thing I do. Let's say I'm very successful, go ahead and I'm going to share it, maybe I'll charge, right? And there's something called social mirror trading, do exactly what they're doing. At the same time, can I get internet access? Yeah, can I broadcast? I can even broadcast, just like I'm broadcasting here. I could broadcast my trades and have everybody then do what they call place the trades, what the experts are doing. You can mirror, basically, there's things where they have Trade Collective. There's a number of different ones that they say, hey, you can follow what they're doing. I can do crowdsourcing. And then what they have then is that's where machine learning is coming, and the artificial intelligence and the algorithmic trading is that it's going to try to, the computer programs are going to try to improve. I as human beings, but also what we call artificial intelligence, they're gonna try to refine it and get higher profits if I give them that. Okay? So that's that idea. Everybody got the overview, the difference between a strategy versus an indicator. So next, I'm gonna go, even though many of you don't have it, you'll understand it now, is, let's do this. I'm gonna go to a couple of things here. I'm going to go to, and you can do this as well, let's do this first. I'm gonna go to Yahoo Finance. Everybody go with me. Yahoo Finance. FinanceYahoo.com. Okay? I'm gonna pick Apple, you pick something else. That way you can do part of your homework already. I love it that way. I love reusability. Why waste your time, right? Let's do it now. So I'm gonna do Apple just because I did Apple before, but you pick something else, right? So I have Apple here, you pick another symbol. So I have this symbol here, Apple. I can see how it did. And what I want to do is we want to deal with data. One of the things that'll be on the exam a lot is about data being so important. We want to do historical data because based on historical data, what do we want to do? We want to forecast. So I'm going to go to historical data. Everybody with me? And here's the time period. I'm just going to do 3 months. Everybody with me? How are we doing? Brandon, you're with me? I'm going to do 3 months. What symbol did you pick, Brandon?
I think I did Amazon.
Okay, great. So I picked 3 months, and now I'm going to apply that 3 months. And now I want to download the data. So I have a clickable thing here, I download data. And I want to open it. Everybody with me? So far so good? We've done this before, something similar. How are we doing, Diane? Good. Okay. I'm going to insert 2 lines. Always with the spreadsheet, I want to basically insert 2 lines. And I'm going to talk about a couple of things with you, some computer programming terms, and you know it, but I'm going to make sure that you know it even better. Okay? Help your neighbor. On the exam, I'm not going to tell you that. There's no help your neighbor on the exam, but other times in the class, it's always help your neighbor. When your neighbor gets stuck, one of the things, remember we talked about class participation? Part of class participation is helping your neighbor. So, I'm going to talk about object programming. Put this in your notes. There's something called object programming. Objects are something physical that you have. And in object programming, I have something called methods and properties. Jerry, when you're asking about what's the exam, Ryan, you were asking me, these are examples. So I have what I call an object. Object is something that physically you can conceive of. And I have something called methods and properties. Methods are like a task. It's almost, you can think about it, it's like a verb. Properties sometimes are called attributes. and is basically, you can think about it as the look and feel. And I'm telling you, you know already object-oriented programming. How many people have never programmed in this class? Raise your hand. Okay, quite a few, right? And I'm telling you right now, my other Ryan here is that you know already this concept of object programming. Think about this right here. A sheet is an object. The workbook is an object. A column is an object. A row is an object. So how do we get to its methods and its properties? So what's the first thing I want to do is I want to insert 2 lines, 2 rows. So this is this row right here. Everybody see that? That row right here is my object. And what do I want to do? I want to insert. Is insert a verb? So if it's a verb, what is it? A method or a property? My other Ryan. A method, look at that. It's a method. And how did you get to that? It's like the command, right? Or a right click or that command to be able to get it. You never even knew it, but every time you did it, you were doing basically object programming. They just never told you it was object programming. It's basically, I take an object and then I find the method right there. And so what do I have to do? I have to click on insert, right? And then I click on, what is this now? My object, and I click on another insert and I have it. Now, here I'm going to be able to put in my symbol, right, I'm going to put in my symbol. I'm using Apple, right, but you're using something else. That's the symbol here. And then here, basically, I want to put in the URL of where I found the data from finance. And here, basically, I can put in your name so you know that you're going to have your name on your spreadsheet. Right, so I'll just put in here, my name right here. Okay, so now we're on a roll, Ryan, my Ryan over here. So now, Allie, if I want to format this to have the dates with the days of the week, I have this column here, so I can highlight my column, right? How do I get to the properties and methods?
Right click.
I can right click, right? And what do I want to do? Do I really want to change the dates? I want to change the look and the feel. I want to change the look and the feel. So what is that, a method or a property, Allie? You're on a roll.
Property.
Property, look at that. Everything is easy when you what? You know it. They're trying to confuse you, right, with all this thing. So I know it, so where should I go? Format cells. Then it becomes like easy, right, when I think about format cells, because what do I want to, you all know formatting, right, Brandon, from Word, from Excel, making it look good. Basically what you're doing is you're changing the property. You're not changing the value. You're just changing basically the color of it, right, the font, the size, all of those. If I asked you, Jerry, all of those are examples. If I asked you, give me examples of properties that you know, you could basically know that. Methods then are some kind of verb. Cut, copy, insert. Basically, I'm not doing it. So those are going to be my methods. So in this case, what do I want to do? Where do I want to do to change the date? Allie, you're on a roll.
Press date.
Press date, and then I want it to look like with the days. We've done this already, right? This is nothing new, but I wanted to show you that this is in terms of object-oriented programming. Later on, you can do that in any way that you want. once I then inserted my graph, right, if I have a graph here, right, remember before we inserted, right, I can highlight this, right? I'll take even a shot of this, you know, doesn't matter, I can highlight this, and if I want to insert a chart, I can insert, and I can do my chart here, and remember, what did I use? I used before, I used my line markers here, right? I used, and then I have my, and because I used, basically, I highlighted with my Apple Open, right? I can do that. Notice when I right-click this, Brandon, it says delete. Is that a property or a method? No brainer, right? I could delete this, right? It's always going to be on my charts here, so I can think about it. I can delete it, right? I can delete any type of one. I can cut it, right? Cut is then what, Brandon? Method or? Method. No big shakes. Now, if I wanted to, I could insert, right, my chart, right? And once I have my chart, how did we then get to formatting? How can I then add a trend line? Add a trend line. So let's add a trend line. We've already done a linear and we've done a polynomial, right? This is the keys to the Mercedes. In our strategy of our SMA, what indicators did we have? Did you understand my question, Naomi? You remember we did the NinjaTrader, we did the simple moving average, we did the SMA, right? Sample SMA. What indicators were in the sample SMA? The fastest flow of what? What the moving averages. Do I have a moving average here? Just like an indicator. How do I get a moving average? So I could do a moving average here. Click on moving average here. And what is this here? These are periods here, Matt, right? And basically we had what? What periods do we have in our SMA? We had the fast and we had the slow. What was the fast? Maybe it was 12, maybe, and the fast was, it was a small, we're going to go, we'll go back and look, but these are just like the periods. Now, your question becomes then, how would I, and this would be great for the exam, how would I manually do a moving average? What is a moving average and how would I do it? What is a moving average? And if, let's say I wanted 2 periods of a moving average. I'm going to get rid of this chart. And there's a number of different ways I can do a moving average. My moving average basically is what? Everybody knows what an average is, right? Brandon, what's an average? If I have average 2 numbers, sum of numbers and divided by the number of numbers I have, right? That's an average, right? Yeah. A moving average is what? It's basically I move down based on what I had before. So for instance, let's do something simple here. Let me just even do this, the first 20 here. I'm going to go to data. I'm going to go to data analysis. And all of these in automated trading systems are what? They're indicators or they're strategies? Indicators. Do I have something called moving average? I have something called moving average. I say okay. And what do they want? They want the input range. This is my input range, right? Let's say that's my input range. I want my label here. And let's do it really simple. Let's do an interval of 2. And my output range, let me just put my output range, let me put my output range. Let me put it right here. Now, your question has to be, how will it do a moving average? I want to do a moving average. I want you to think. I know that it's late at night. I want to do a moving average of this column here, these first 20, let's say. How would a moving average work? Yes, Jerry?
Would base the average off the previous number?
It bases off the previous number, so what will this look like? Is there a previous number for this cell?
0, like +1, +4, -4, and -2.
Okay. So let's see what happens when I do it 2 times. And I'm not going to even do a chart. I'm just going to do right now this. Why is this NA? Who can tell me why that's NA? Mike?
There's no number to base it.
If there's no number above it. But if I go down to this, what does it say? The average of what? B4, right? B4 and B5. So what is this going to be? Who can tell me?
B4, B5, B6.
Right? Simple when you know it, right? So this one is moving to the average of B5 to B6. What's the next one going to be? Perfect. Right? Just each one down. That's the period of 2. All I'm just basically doing is the first one, and if I had the period of 5, it would take above those, so those first ones. So let me change this one and change it again for those numbers to change it. Any questions? So now let me go to NinjaTrader. Yes?
So moving average is an average of the 2 most recent numbers?
Well, I can tell what periods I want.
So if you said 4 periods, it would be the average of the 4 above it? Okay, what would it do for the first 4?
What do you think?
Zeros? Would it say,
It would just say here, like here.
that?
Not applicable. Ah. Yes.
If you click on to get to the moving average, like,
I don't have the data analysis
What?
button on my.
Oh, what? Do you have it? So you go to options. Try to go to options and try to do data analysis. Go to home and see if you can go from home. You can get here like can you add options in file? Go ahead and research it, but don't matter because it's not going to be part. I just wanted to show you it is, but you do have it. I think you have to go to file, add-ons. You have to look for add-ons. Look for add-ons and then add analysis pack, data analysis pack. So if I look at mine, for instance, if I go to file here, right, and I go to, I should go to my options here. You see options add-ins that I have here in Windows? And then you need to add, you want to add in analysis tool pack. Go search for it. It's good to have it anyways, because then you get all the indicators in Excel. Everybody with me? If you don't have it, you could even do it manually can do a moving average. Too bad. Just go search, how do you get in a Mac, whatever version you have, and it gets analysis too bad. What? Oh, I got through it from file. I got to file options. I don't know if you have the same thing. File options. You see that? Add-ins. And then you'll see here the analysis tool pack. You want to have that. And probably put in analysis tool pack VBA too. Add those two. Okay, everybody with me? Don't worry about this part. You can add that later, okay? Because I want to get into to understand. I want you to understand the concept. So go ahead and research how do you add in analysis tool pack and analysis tool pack VBA. You should have that in Excel anyways because it can give you a lot of richness. Everybody with me? So now I'm going to go to NinjaTrader, and you don't even have to run it, but I want you to actually open up your mind, because sometimes we get, what else is the problem? Sometimes we get so hooked up on what's the next keystroke that we miss out on what we need to do. So I'm going to just, for right now, hold on to this, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to close this. And let me see if is my NinjaTrader up? Let me just hear NinjaTrader 7. Doesn't matter. Let's see if I can get that up and running. So what am I opening up right now? I'm opening up, Jerry, a platform that does ATS, Automatic Trading System Platform. It doesn't matter. I will not ask you what are the keystrokes of NinjaTrader. That's not important for me. You understand? Do you understand that, Brandon? I'm not going to ask you how do you get to a performance report. What I want you to understand is what are the key concepts to do it. When I get NinjaTrader, I don't need to do any connection. So, Allie, when you go to the lab and it's in the back lab, you don't need to have you want to skip the beginning. So I'm going to skip. And I get my control panel. I'm going to close off right now. I'm going to close off everything. I'm going to close this off. Keep my control center up there. And you can take notes if you want. Now, I need data in order to analyze. I need to do historical data to do what? To back test, meaning to see if my strategy was implemented, how well would my strategy do? That's called back testing. I can back test this as if I was using it based on the strategy. How are we doing, Naomi? So now what I need to do is in order to find that data, just like I went to the database in Yahoo to get the data, I need to be connected to the data in this platform. So how do I connect to the platform? Is I go to File, and what do I need to connect? I have to go to Connect, right? I have to go to Connect, and right now we're just going to do end of day. But we could do it tick by tick, month by, in minute by minute. We're just doing end of day because it's simple. And I know I'm connected by down here. Now I want to do a chart. Am I pronouncing your name, Yasmin, correctly?
Yes.
Good. So now I need to do then my chart. So what do I do now? Yasmin, I want a chart.
Go to chart.
Very good. So I'm going to go to my chart, and I'm going to pick, you can pick a symbol. I'm going to pick a symbol here. Do you see this in this case? and I'm gonna click, I could do double click or I can do new for the symbol. And you wanna make sure that the type of data I get matches the data. So you always wanna check, and these are what? Properties, my chart, right, my symbol, and what are these called to the right? In object-oriented terms, what are all these called? Being the type values, the way the colors, what are those?
Properties.
Properties. You could write it in the code, or this is a lot easier, you can just fill in the blanks. But when you fill in the blanks, the code gets written for you. What kind of code? Source code. Everybody get the picture? So now what I want is I have Apple, I know that I have the day, and now I say, okay. I'm going back to Jerry. Does this have a strategy in it?
No.
No. Does this have an indicator on it?
Yeah? No.
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 No. We can get confident here, right? It doesn't have an indicator. It doesn't have a strategy. It is just what? Taking this back and basically telling me each of these candlesticks basically are based on what, Simon? One day. Later on, if I did by tick, it could be like the tick, or if I did minute by minute, I could have 5 minutes. And some of these guys that are doing these quant trading, you know, they're in at 9:30 and they're out by 9:32. And they're finished for the day. And you say, hey, and I make millions, right? It's not a bad work day, right? 9:30 to 9:32 and I'm out. They're working, right, of combining it, but just being in and out, it could be just for 2 minutes or even less. Right? And are they in it? Are they pressing the button buy, sell? The system is. The computer buys and sells for them, but you want to make sure that your system is running, right? You want to make sure that you haven't crashed. You want to make sure that when you're looking at the world hasn't come to an end, right? You don't want to have a big war somewhere, right? We don't have another 9/11 or something. Now, this is a chart, right, Brandon? This is a chart. If I want to look at all the properties and methods to this chart, what do I need to do? I just go right-click and I see what? All the properties and methods. It doesn't matter what system I use, we can know it. And everybody kind of like programs that same idea. Properties, right? Methods of what? An object. What's the object? Chart. Now, I want indicators. Where do I go? What a class. Have you programmed before, Simon? And you were concerned about not being smart enough. See, I'm telling you, you are. Okay, so I'm going to go to indicators and look at all these indicators. And what kind of indicators did we have before? What did we do before? If you look at it, right? If you look at all these indicators it has before, look at all the ones. Look at this, lin-reg. This looks like linear regression, right? Lin-reg intercept, lin-reg slope, right? I can even then later on put, I have parabolic, I have price alert, I have regression channel. Remember we did regression channel? I have R squared. You have, those are basically, you think about them, are formulas in Excel. These are based already. Look at this. What is this SMA? Let me see what it says. Here, it's simple moving average. This indicator of how many periods? Matt? 14. So I'm taking those 14, right? So those first beginning of that list will be not applicable. But those are the same type of moving averages that I have. And look at to the right here. I have the simple moving average, I have price market, the input series, maximum bars, look, 256. What does that mean? I have 256. I'm going to go back to do it, even if I have more data. So in this case, what are we using? We're using the days. So in this case, look at this. You're going to be excited about this. What are these?
Properties.
I want it easy when you know it. Easy when you read that plot and all that other stuff. This is all that is. And you would know, you know. And let's say that orange isn't strong enough, right? So what do? I want it to be dark orange. A lot of big work I had, right? I'm going to apply, and I'm going to say okay. And this is what? A simple moving average on my chart. Now, in my strategy, how many simple moving averages did I have? 2. So how do I get another indicator on my chart?
Back to indicators.
And look, I'm going to do another one, right? So I'm going to look for SMA. And maybe let me change this to, just for the heck of it, can I change this value? Sure can. Let me change it to 5 just, for the heck of it. Apply. Okay. And what's not good about this? The same color, right? So what can I do? Notice when I right-clicked, it even came with the word properties, right? And if I enter the properties, I want to do what? Change the color. Is this making more sense? So I don't want orange, right? I want another color that's going to be stronger. So in this case, I want to do something, let's say we want dark green. And you remember when we did it where we said when it crosses above, when it crosses below? But what did we have? When it was a strategy, what did it have? It told us the logic. So now let's get rid of all of this. How do I get rid of it? I don't want those indicators there. Oh, what a class. And remove is what? A property or a method? A method. And now let me go to strategy. And which one should I go to? Sample MSA new. Right? And what should I do? I should make it enabled to what? True. Apply. And if you looked at this, Jerry, do you have a strategy here or not?
Just have indicators, because it's not even a buy and sell for it. It's just.
Anyway, don't just talk so quickly.
There is a strategy.
What do you think, Mike?
There is a strategy.
There is a strategy. How do you know there's a strategy?
Because it says buy at
Buy
1.
here, right? So the computer bought there. And what about this one? Sell short, right? What about here? Buy, sell short. And now if I want to look at the properties of this one, what do I have to go?
Properties.
Jesus Christ. And now what do I want to do? And what was the number of periods? 25. And what was the other one? 10. 10 then basically was fast, 25 was slow.
What?
And then how do I get to the source code? Okay, well, I can do a number of different ones, but one of the ones that I can do is I can go to Tools, I can go to Edit NinjaScript Strategy. Which strategy do I want? Sample MA crossover, okay. And I can see. Does that make more sense? The difference between strategy versus indicator, and what's so powerful about the strategy that I cannot do with Excel? That I have this built in already, and what's important for you is to what? Is to be able to figure out what the strategy is going to be and refine the strategy and work together. So now, what you need to do for homework is I need 3 symbols. Put it in your notes. Each person in your group, I don't want to see this again. Remember we talked about integrity? When I pass this around, if you haven't done your work, you don't write yes. I mean, this is simple kind of things that I'm trusting each other, right? When I say a word, you expect my word, right, Michelle? And you're not expecting the word that we're respecting each other. This is disrespectful. So, what I want is, this is source code that you can bring into a text editor, or you can even bring it into Word. You need to copy this at the comment section. What is a comment section? Is those slashes above. You can put extra splashes above and put your description of what you understand. The first description in the source code I want is your name and the date. The other part is to try to figure out what's happening here. What's the name of the strategy? Mike, you're in the first row so you can read.
Sample MA crossover.
Right, that's the name of the strategy. And look at this. You can put in some explanation, and this means already, Mike, what?
The fast SMA
Is
is
what color?
orange.
And what did we do? We changed it to dark orange, remember?
Yeah.
So we could write it in the code, but we didn't even have to bother writing it in code. We did it in what? The properties of that object. And what's the second one? The slow one has what?
Green.
Green. And what were the values of it? What was it? It was 10 and 25. And then it said add the fast, add the slow, and then what you need to do is put an example of an explanation with the 2 slashes of what this means. And this means what? When the SMA fast crosses above the SMA slow, what should you do?
Enter long.
Enter long meaning what? The computer will do what?
Buy it.
Buy it. When it crosses below, the fast crosses below, we then enter a short. We're betting it's going down. So I want you to put explanation. So an example for the exam would be, given this type of code, explaining what the code means in those parts. This is the logic. I don't expect you to write the code, but you don't have to write the code, right? They have wizards built in here that you can do the code. So for homework, what I want you to do is I want you to do 3 symbols. I want you to evaluate how those symbols do, and then also copy the source code and put explanations of what you can understand in the source code.
For all 3 stops?
No, you don't need 3 because it's the same. The source code is what? The exact same. We're not using different strategies in different stocks, right? So you need only this first. Yes, Michael?
The source code type of thing is going to be on the exam.
Explanations of it.
Explanations of it.
And is it, and when you know it, see, if you don't pay attention, right? You don't, but even if you didn't, right, you could read, it's English like, but I want you to get a good understanding of what that is. Not to be like, you know what I mean, overwhelmed. And that's why I'm talking about that agile development I want, is each time we get more and more of a deeper understanding of what we did. But you could even do it in the beginning. You almost can even try out some things in Excel as what? As indicators, as the charting we did as the polynomial. And then I'll show you, for instance, the polynomial. There's another indicator of a polynomial that we can put in here, and then we can make decisions on the polynomial. And maybe our next strategy would be, when the polynomial is in the same direction as my linear, then we'll go with what direction that is. If it's a buy or a sell, we have more confidence. Where's my R squared greater than 6.6 for these stocks? And then we'll have it, like Jack said, he doesn't want to do all those three. Basically, go ahead and do it for 1,000 stocks and find me those that fit the criteria. And I'll show you how to do that in the automation. So what's for homework? Who can read? And each person do 3 stocks. It's not a whole group doing it. Each person in your group have the 3 stocks, evaluate those 3 stocks, and put up the source code of what you can do. And then come back with me for questions we'll spend the time doing this plus reviewing for the exam. We're meeting where? And if you can shut this off, what?
Not the Excel file. I don't know, I just did other work.